In this lesson, we will use the Chmod utility to assess organizational security. We are in the Chmod portion of the video series. This lesson is part of a video series that prepares you for the hands-on portion of the CompTIA Security Plus exam and is designed to give you hands-on experience with the operations and incident response section of the exam. So what is chmod command? The chmod command is used to change the file or directory permissions in Linux. It is typically used by users with sufficient privileges, such as the file owner or a super user. It is used when you need to modify access rights for a file or directory to control read, write, or execute permission. It is executed in the Linux terminal within the directory containing the file or directory to be modified, or by specifying the path. It ensures appropriate access control, preventing unauthorized users from reading, modifying, or executing files and directories. We run the chmod command by typing chmod, followed by the message or options. The rest of the how is what this video is all about, so let's get into it. To get started, grab the companion guide from the link in the show notes below. Also, if you like this content, please make sure to subscribe to the channel so you won't miss any new videos. So we have our companion guide and we are ready to get started. Companion guide on the left, we have our desktop with Ubuntu on the right. So let's get into this. So the first thing is that you see a table here of chmod or chmod or change mode commands here. And let's just do a quick little definition here of what's going on here, what we're trying to accomplish. So I'm going to scroll up a little bit so you can have this diagram. The same document is here but exploded a little bit, and it shows that we have a file, and the file has essentially three groups. We have the owner group, the group that you can decide what users will be in, and then we have others, which is usually the public. And then we have these permissions: readable, writable, executable, and denied. And we're going to change these for different files, and that's what this exercise is all about. So I come over here on the right side. I'm going to go into a terminal by doing Control-Alt-T. I'm going to maximize the screen, and I'm going to bring this up 2 bumps, basically screen side. So ++ to get this a little bit bigger, and this part is all set up. Now I'm going to go to a folder, the var temp folder. I'm going to cd to var temp because everybody has access to that. And while I'm at it, I'm going to touch a file. I'm going to create a file. Let's just see what's in the var temp folder. Nothing here. I'm going to touch a file, which is creating a file called sample.txt. And it's going to give me a file, and then we're going to just quickly ls that file, just long format. And I can see that file. This is all of them. If I do ls, LAH, I want to see all and just sample, I get to see that file. So let's clear the screen to bring that back up. And now I have my file, and it looks very similar to this here where I have default permissions. So first and foremost, this is the file type. This is a file. If it was a directory, it would have D next to it. The owner has read write. I'm the owner. I'm denied the execute capability. These are the default permissions. The group, the fmerin group, has read write, and everybody else just has read. So we just want to make sure when we create a file by default, the default permissions are exactly what we see here: RW, RW, R. In other words, the owner gets read write, no execute. We have read write for the fmerin group or whatever group is assigned to this here, and then read for other. So let's go ahead and test this here, and now we're going to change this setting here a little bit. So now we're going to use one of the commands, the chmod command, which is the 777. So I have my command here. I'm going to keep it there. I'm going to chmod 77 and sample text. And now I'm going to ls, same thing, LAH sample, so we can see that file, and you see it has changed. We have granted the groups everything. In other words, the owner has read, write, and execute. Everybody in the fmerin group has read, write, execute. Everyone in the other group has read, write, execute. In other words, everybody can do everything with this file. We're going to actually take a look at and see what happens. For example, I can go ahead and use the nano, which is a text utility or text editor. I go to sample and I can write test hello world, and I can save that. I save it to the file. Now when I cat this file, I can see that information that I put in the file. I have complete control over it, and yes, I can delete that file as well. We won't delete it because we need it again. So let's go ahead and select this. We are done with that. Now we're going to change the permission so that way only the owner has full access and others can only read and execute. In other words, they can't edit. They can run it, they can see it, but they can't change it. So let's go ahead and do that again. So I'm going to do Chmod, and I'm going to do the 755 version of this here and sample text. Great. Then I'm going to ls -ah sample, and I can see now that the fmerin has read, write, execute. Everyone in the fmerin group only has the read and execute, and the read and execute, they do not have the write capability. By the way, you don't have to commit all of these to memory. There's a little table that you could use here, and it breaks it down here, and we're just going through a couple of these. So 777 is everything. 755 is owner can read, write, execute. Others can only read and execute. So we're here, and let's test this for the time being here. So we're at 755. I'm going to change this and change the format of my screen so we can see another terminal. So I'm going to put a terminal over here. I'm going to open another terminal in here, and I'm going to make this one about screen, about the same thing, about halfway as well. And the idea is that I'm going to log in as another user. So we have another user on this machine, and actually let's make this a little bit bigger. So we're going to plus just 2 times here to just get this a little bit bigger, resize so we have enough real estate. And I'm logged in. These are 2 terminal views, 2 terminal sessions, but I'm logged in and both as the same. For example, I'm who am I? I'm here, who am I is, and I'm who am I over here. So same user. I'm going to switch the user down here. I'm going to switch user, SU, and there's another user on this machine called Alice. So we're going to switch to Alice. We're going to put Alice's password in. And now Alice, we're logged in as Alice. So you see the difference here. Up here, I'm going to clear. Up here in this top terminal, I'm logged in as fmerin, and down here, I'm logged in as Alice. Alice is a regular user who's not part of the fmerin group. In other words, Alice can only, when we look at this file here, can read the file, can execute the file, can't write to the file. We're going to test that. So first thing we're going to do is going to cd to the var temp file. That's where it is. I could have used nano directly to it. I'm going to ls. It's the same file, las lh sample, and it's the same file we're talking about here. So let's take a look and see what that looks like. So I'm going to nano that file under Alice, and if you noticed here it says it's unwritable. That's because Alice does not have the write capabilities because we restricted it here with the 7555, and that's what that was all about. I know it can be a little tricky, but that's why we have the table here so you can see which one. And personally, when I log in or when I'm working, I'm logged in as super user, and then we test with another user or a regular user to see if they can perform those options. And in this case here, you see that they cannot. So we tried editing as a non-owner user, and we should be denied. And here's the denied sample right here. So that's what 755 looks like. Okay, good. Let's do a couple more. So I'm going to exit out of here. I'm going to Control X out of Nano here. There isn't much that Alice can do. We're going to clear the screen and get ready for the next exercise, or task, I should say. And we're going to do the same thing here. So in this one with 644, the owner can read, write, others can only read. Okay, so in this case here, we're going to Chmod. I'm going to 6444 and sample that text file. Then I also want to see it as well, right? So I can see this one here by default. It's owner can read, write. Others can only read and can only read. So let's take a look. Let's see. They can only read. So let's see what Alice can do with here. So try another user. It says, let's see what happens. So let's go ahead and nano this again and see what happens with sample. And once again, we see that it's unwritable because Alice doesn't have the privilege. However, up here, since I have the privilege, well, it says that she's using it. That's fine. I'm going to say yes. That's okay because we still get in here. So let's go ahead and X out of that so we don't have any problems. We'll X out of this. And now we don't have any problems with our nano here because we have the privilege and Alice does not. One more. Let's see if Alice can get rid of this file. So we're going to try and use the RM for remove sample. And it says the remove write protect is what's protecting this file. So Alice does not have that file protection. How do we know? Let's go ahead and take a look at it in the LS version. The owner has read write, which is me. Anyone in the group only has read, others only have read. So we see how the 644 works well. Okay, so let's go ahead and select this as well as done. Then we have one more. Let's go ahead with 700. Only the owner has full access. So let's go ahead and do a 700. So we're going to do Chmod 700. There's other ways of doing this. As always with Linux, there's a bunch of ways to do this. We could actually use the execute command and different commands to do this. I'm just showing you one way with the numbers. So I'm going to change that. We're going to take a look. ls minus long so we can see the sample. And we see that no one else can even see the file. So let's see what's happening. So let's see what Alice can do or not in this case here. So we're going to ls minus l sample. And we see that you can see the file, but let's see. Let's go ahead and sample. And permission denied. Alice can't even read the file at this point. Can't see what's inside the file. So this is how we would restrict it entirely. So this was the denied. So I can cat sample. I can see there's text in there. I have the privilege because I'm part of the group. In this case here, I'm read, write, execute. Others cannot read, cannot write, cannot execute. Alice is not part of the fmerin group. So Alice can't even read the file. If you try and sample it, can't do anything with it. Try to remove it. Can't remove it. And it's totally protected. So this is great. And this shows with the 444, we have try modifying, deleting the users. Okay. Let's do one more. And this is going to restrict us as well. So in this case here, I'm going to clear. I'm also going to go ahead and clear over here. I'm going to change mode 400 and the sample test. And now I'm restricted from the file. And that may be times where you may need this. You may get that through instructions that we want to make sure. And at this point here, although I have the privilege to change it by default, look what happens here. If I try and delete the file, I protected it against myself. I can always go back and change it. I can always go ahead and give a chmod of 755. So let's go ahead and do this. I can do 755 to sample. And if I wanted to, you can see here, I now have the capability of, let's just do ls sample. Bring that up so you can see a little bit better. And now I have the capability, if I wanted to delete this file, I can. And this time I will. Okay, great. So we just ran through a couple of the codes. There are a lot more. So as you see here, these are some of the popular ones. 777, 755, 644, 700, 600. There were more. We just wanted to give you a quick overview. Sometimes when we download files for some exercises that are coming up, we may need to change the permissions. There are a variety of ways. This is one of them. And as always, if you want to get more help, we can just disregard these here. I'm just going to tick these off. We're going to do CH or change owner in its own separate category. That's a whole topic in and of itself. But you can use the help, the TAC help, to get more information. So I'm going to expand this so we can get a full screen here. I'm going to clear so I can do chmod TAC help, and it's going to give us some of the options that we can see here. And of course, if you really want to get into it, you can use the manual page, and we're going to man chmod. It's always better to make sure we have the proper spelling. And now we get a full description of chmod. So that's it. We now know how to change permissions on files. Same concept with directories. As always, spend some time playing with these commands, but for now we should be in good shape. This sets us up for a lot of frameworks and platforms as we install, and I'm happy we had a chance to talk about chmod. We'll talk about other utilities in future lessons. Looking forward to seeing you there.